Council members reeled back in palpable shock, slamming fists on consoles as they gawked in awe at a projection of Earth's impossibly vast oceans. Tyler Hill allowed himself a smug grin. After eons of humanity being derided as surface-bound primitives, the Council's species were now utterly dependent on the trillions of gallons of water humans had right under their noses. Human aid ships had already begun the emergency purification and transport of ocean water to Kobali Prime. Without that human water, the disease-curing aqua products synthesized from pristine Kobali lakes would cease production within days. Trillions across the galaxy would die painful deaths from the Novorby syndrome pandemic, not to mention several council member races going extinct as their own supplies ran out. "Your people will have all you asked for," Gruss growled through clenched teeth, glaring at the human diplomat across the obsidian table. "A council seat, exclusive hyperspace routes, a mutual defense pact. Are you satisfied?" Tyler leaned back and interlocked his fingers behind his head. "Quite satisfied. Glad we could come to an agreement. I've sent word to Earth to step up the water shipment schedule." The human stood and stretched, joints popping. "Guess I should get back to my ship and supervise the H2O Express." Mutters erupted from the assembled alien leaders as Tyler strode toward the hallway. The Kobali ambassador's voice rang out. "I still can't believe we're entrusting the fate of the galaxy to humans, savages who never even developed gravity shielding." Tyler paused at the doorway and smirked over his shoulder. "Well then, it's a good thing you superior beings have us primitive humans around to bail you out, isn't it?" With that parting jab, he left the sputtering council behind. There was work to do. Back on Earth, Tyler Hill stood before the World Water Council, his hands clasped behind his back as he laid out the dire situation facing the galaxy. The room was silent as he spoke, the weight of his words hanging heavy in the air. Admiral Jones, the council leader, leaned forward in his seat, his brow furrowed. "So let me get this straight. You want us to send our most advanced water purification ships, our most valuable resource, to aid the same alien races that have treated us like dirt for centuries?" Tyler met the Admiral's gaze. "I understand your reservations, sir, but this is our chance to show the galaxy what humanity is made of. We have an opportunity here to gain a stronger position on the galactic stage, to prove that we're not just surface-bound primitives." The Admiral sat back, considering Tyler's words. The room was tense, waiting for his decision. Finally, he nodded. "All right, Hill, we'll do it. But those ships better come back in one piece." With the Council's approval, a massive fleet of water purification ships was mobilized. Each vessel was a marvel of human engineering, equipped with state-of-the-art filtration systems, powerful engines, and defensive capabilities that rivaled those of any alien race. As the fleet launched, Tyler hailed Gruss on the comms. The alien's holographic form appeared, his features strained with worry. "The fleet is on its way," Tyler informed him, "but the journey will take several weeks. We're coming from the other side of the galaxy, after all." Gruss slammed his fist on his console. "Several weeks? We don't have that kind of time. Can't you just send us the schematics for your filtration technology? We can build it ourselves." Tyler laughed, shaking his head. "Come on, Gruss, you know the Galactic Council's rules. No sharing technology with lesser races, remember? You've enforced that ban on us for years." Gruss fumed, his face turning a deeper shade of green, but he couldn't argue. The Council's laws were clear. As the human fleet traversed the vast expanse of space, they were suddenly set upon by a massive force of Zorax raiders. The insectoid species was known for their love of stealing water, and with most of Earth's defenses escorting the filtration fleet, they saw an opening too good to pass up. The space around the human ships erupted into chaos as Zorax fighters swarmed like angry hornets. The human vessels took heavy damage, their hulls scorched by enemy fire, but they fought back with everything they had. Admiral Jones, commanding the fleet from the bridge of the flagship, barked orders with a cool efficiency. Under his expert tactics and the bravery of the human crews, the Zorax were slowly beaten back, their ships falling one by one to the superior human technology. But the victory was hard won. and the fleet was left shaken and battered as they limped on towards Kobali space. As they approached their destination, Tyler expected to see a welcoming party, grateful Kobali ready to receive the life-saving water. Instead, he was greeted by a heavily armed blockade, Kobali warships bristling with weapons. Gruss's face appeared on the view screen, his expression hard and unforgiving. "I'm afraid there's been a change of plans, Hill," he said coldly. "Given your fleet's delay and weakened state, we've decided it would be best if we took your filtration ships by force. We can't risk our survival on your whims any longer." Tyler stared at the screen in disbelief, anger rising in his chest. "You're making a big mistake, Gruss," he warned. "We came here to help you, and this is how you repay us." "So you will surrender your ships immediately?" Gruss demanded, ignoring Tyler's words. "Resist and you will be destroyed." But Tyler wasn't about to roll over, not after everything they'd been through. He turned to his crew, his eyes blazing with determination. "Prepare for battle," he ordered. "If the Kobali want a fight, we'll give them one. Even damaged, our ships are more than a match for them." As the human fleet moved to break through the blockade, the Kobali opened fire. Space lit up with the flash of energy weapons, the two former allies locked in a deadly embrace. The space around the Kobali blockade erupted into a firestorm of weapons fire and explosions. The ESS Resilience, its hull already pockmarked with scars from the earlier Zorax battle, charged forward like a wounded beast, guns blazing. Tyler gripped the armrests of his command chair as the ship shuddered under the onslaught. "Concentrate fire on their central formation," he shouted over the blaring alarms. "We need to punch a hole for the filtration ships." The Resilience's weapons pounded the Kobali ships, even as return fire hammered the human flagship's weakening shields. Consoles sparked and crewmen were thrown to the deck, but Tyler's eyes never left the tactical display. With a triumphant roar from the crew, the Kobali line buckled and then broke, a gap appearing in the blockade. "Filtration ships, go now," Tyler ordered. As the bulky water purification vessels lumbered through the opening, a massive Kobali battlecruiser loomed out of the chaos, its weapons locked on the Resilience. The human ship shuddered as its shields failed and explosions ripped through its hull. "Weapons are down. Engines are failing," the damage control officer shouted. Tyler slammed his fist on his chair. They'd done their job, but now they were helpless. "Boarders incoming," the security chief reported. "They're after the filtration tech." Tyler unholstered his sidearm. "Repel them at any cost. I'm heading to the escape pods." He fought his way through the smoke-filled corridors, joining the running battles against the Kobali boarders. The ship shook with a massive explosion, throwing him against a bulkhead. With a sinking feeling, he realized the Resilience was lost. He barely made it to an escape pod before the ship was ripped apart, the tiny craft rocketing towards the Kobali homeworld below. As it descended through the atmosphere, Tyler could see the filtration ships landing, human crews already rushing to unload the vital equipment. The escape pod hit the ground hard, throwing Tyler against the restraints. He kicked open the hatch and stumbled out into the dense Kobali jungle, the air thick with humidity and the screeches of alien creatures. He linked up with the surviving human crews, who were frantically trying to deploy the filtration systems into the contaminated water sources. The bulky machines had to be manhandled through the thick undergrowth, progress agonizingly slow. Blaster fire suddenly erupted from the jungle, crimson bolts sizzling past Tyler's head. Kobali ground troops, no doubt sent by Gruss to capture the technology. "Defensive positions," Tyler yelled, upending a filtration unit to use as cover. The humans, engineers and ship crew, not soldiers, nonetheless fought back with grim determination. They had come too far to fail now. Outnumbered and outgunned, they held their ground, even as the Kobali pressed closer, the jungle echoing with the sound of battle. Tyler fired his sidearm until it ran dry, then picked up a fallen Kobali weapon. "Hold the line, we're almost done," he shouted, though he had no idea if it was true. Just as it seemed the Kobali would overrun them, a shadow fell over the battlefield. Tyler looked up to see a colossal ship descending from the sky, the emblem of the Galactic Council emblazoned on its hull. "Attention, humans and Kobali," Gruss's voice boomed from a hovering drone. "Stand down immediately or face the consequences of your unsanctioned actions." Tyler, his uniform torn and stained with blood and dirt, glared at the drone. "The Council can try and stop me, but I won't abandon my mission," he declared, his voice ragged but unyielding. Gruss seemed taken aback by Tyler's defiance in the face of the Council's might. He hesitated, and in that moment, alarms blared from the filtration units. "Purification complete!" a human engineer shouted. Against all odds, they had done it. Tyler grinned fiercely as Gruss spluttered on the drone, clearly receiving confirmation that the Kobali water was now clean. "We held up our end of the deal," Tyler said. "Now the Council will give us what we're owed." Gruss, his scheme unraveled, and facing the humiliation of the Kobali's betrayal being revealed to the Council, had no choice but to agree. As the battered human ships lifted off from the Kobali jungle, Gruss's parting transmission crackled in Tyler's ear. "The Council will remember this human." Tyler, bruised and bloodied but victorious, smiled grimly. "So will we, Gruss, so will we." Tyler stood on the deck of the ESS Triumph, the roar of cheering crowds nearly drowning out the sound of the ship's engines as it descended through Earth's atmosphere. Ticker tape rained down in glittering streams, catching the sunlight as it swirled around the battered but proud vessel. Tyler waved to the sea of faces below, their joy and relief palpable. But even as he smiled for the cameras, a knot of unease twisted in his gut. Something didn't feel right. The filtration systems had been pushed to their absolute limit on Kobali Prime. Had they held up? Had some unseen damage been done? His fears were realized all too soon. Within days, reports began flooding in from coastal cities across the globe. The oceans were turning a sickly, luminescent green, vast swaths of dead fish washing up on shores. Experts quickly identified the cause, a virulent alien bacteria never before seen on Earth. It had hitched a ride back on the filtration ships, and now it was spreading like wildfire. Tyler watched in horror as the situation rapidly deteriorated. Beaches closed as the toxic algal blooms spread, the stench of rotting marine life choking the air. Water treatment plants failed as the bacteria contaminated reservoirs. Panic gripped the world as humanity faced a catastrophe of its own making. Racked with guilt, Tyler threw himself into finding a solution. He reached out to Gruss, practically begging for Kobali aid, but his pleas fell on deaf ears. The Kobali, it seemed, were content to let humanity reap what it had sown. Undeterred, Tyler assembled a team of the brightest scientific minds on Earth. They worked around the clock, subsisting on caffeine and desperation as they raced to analyze the alien bacteria and devise a countermeasure. But as the days stretched into weeks and the oceans turned into toxic soups, hope began to wane. Just as all seemed lost, a breakthrough. By studying the captured Zorax weapons, Tyler's team found a way to modify the energy signature to target the bacteria's unique molecular structure. It was a long shot, but it was the only chance they had. There was just one problem. To deliver the energy wave, they would need to detonate a massive Zorax bomb at the bottom of the Marianas Trench, the deepest point on Earth. The resulting shockwave would propagate through the world's oceans, eradicating the bacteria. But it would also generate a tsunami of biblical proportions. Tyler didn't hesitate. He volunteered to personally deliver and detonate the bomb, knowing full well it was a one-way trip. As he prepared to depart, Admiral Jones pulled him aside, pressing a small device into his hand. "Prototype personal teleporter," Jones explained gruffly. "Never been tested and the range is extremely limited, but it might just give you a chance." Tyler nodded, tucking the device into his pocket. A chance, however slim, was more than he'd had a moment ago. With the fate of the world resting on his shoulders, Tyler boarded the small submersible that would take him to the bottom of the abyss. As the airlock sealed with a hiss and the vessel began its descent into the inky depths, he closed his eyes, picturing the green hills of Earth, the laughter of children, the simple beauty of a sunrise. The things he was fighting for, the things he would gladly die for. The submersible plunged deeper into the darkness, the pressure mounting with every passing fathom. Tyler checked and rechecked the Zorax bomb, ensuring it was primed and ready. He thought of his crew, of Admiral Jones, of the billions of lives counting on him. Failure was not an option. At last, the vessel settled on the seafloor with a gentle bump. Tyler checked the depth gauge, 36,000 feet, the lowest point on the planet. He was in the Challenger Deep, a place fewer people had been than had walked on the moon. He steeled himself, then opened the airlock. The water rushed in, cold and dark and crushing. Tyler pushed out, the bomb clutched to his chest, his suit lights barely penetrating the gloom. He could feel the pressure, feel it squeezing him like a vice, but he pushed forward. He placed the bomb carefully, arming it with hands that shook only slightly. The timer blinked to life, 60 seconds. No time for second thoughts, no room for error. Tyler activated his thrusters, rocketing upwards through the dark water. He counted down in his head, each second feeling like an eternity. Tyler's heart pounded as he rocketed upwards through the crushing black abyss. The seconds ticked by with agonizing slowness. 30 seconds left. He pushed the thrusters to their limit, the submersible's frame groaning under the strain. 20 seconds. The surface was still so far away, a distant glimmer above. 10 seconds. Tyler gritted his teeth, refusing to accept failure. 5 seconds. With a final burst of power, the submersible breached the surface. The explosion was like nothing Tyler had ever witnessed. A colossal bubble of light and energy ballooned outwards from the depths, the shockwave hitting the submersible like a hammer blow. Tyler was thrown from his seat, his head slamming against the bulkhead. Dazed, ears ringing, he pulled himself up and stared out the viewport. The ocean was in chaos, massive waves radiating outwards from the blast site. But there, just visible through the churning water, was a bright pulse of light, racing outwards at impossible speed. The energy wave, it was working. Tyler sagged back in his seat, exhaustion and relief washing over him. He had done it. Earth was saved. But his respite was short-lived. A deep, resonant boom echoed through the ocean, a sound that Tyler felt in his bones. He looked out the viewport again, and his blood ran cold. Something was rising from the depths, something huge. A massive bioluminescent form breached the surface, water cascading off its slick, pulsating hide. Tyler's mind reeled as he tried to comprehend the sheer scale of the creature. It was like a mountain rising from the sea, an ancient behemoth that dwarfed anything he had ever seen. The creature let out a deafening roar, a sound of pure primal rage, its eyes glowing with an eerie, sickly light fixed on Tyler's tiny submersible. With a sweep of its colossal tail, it sent a wave crashing into the craft, sending it spinning. Tyler fought with the controls, trying to stabilize the vessel, but it was like trying to fight a hurricane. The creature attacked again, its massive jaws snapping shut mere meters from the submersible. Tyler stared into the cavernous maw, lined with rows of jagged bioluminescent teeth. This was no mere animal. This was a being of ancient, unknowable power, and it was enraged. Tyler's mind raced. He couldn't fight this thing, he couldn't outrun it, but maybe, just maybe, he could distract it. With shaking hands, he armed the Zorax bomb, setting the timer for 30 seconds. He aimed the submersible towards the creature's massive eye and hit the ejection button. The bomb shot out of the vessel, tumbling through the water. For a heart-stopping moment, Tyler thought it would miss, but then, with a quick flick of its head, the creature snatched the bomb out of the water. Tyler didn't hesitate. He activated the prototype teleporter, praying to every deity he could think of. The device hummed to life, energy building around him. The creature suddenly realized its mistake, eyes widening in something like fear. It tried to spit out the bomb, but it was too late. Tyler saw a blinding flash of light, felt a searing heat, and then he was standing on the gleaming deck of a Galactic Council ship, sirens blaring around him. Gruss and a host of alien dignitaries staring at him in utter shock. Tyler looked at them, Then down at his scorched and battered environmental suit, he managed a weary grin. "Sorry for the sudden appearance," he said. "It's been a hell of a day." You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.